What if I told you that 5 young men from the Philippines are now standing on stages that many global artists spend entire careers dreaming about? A Grammy Museum stage in Los Angeles, a Major League Baseball field in Chicago, and the same Lollapalooza lineup that has hosted some of the biggest names in modern music. 3 years ago, almost nobody outside Southeast Asia knew their name. This past week alone, they performed at the Grammy Museum's Global Spin Live through the ceremonial first pitch at a Chicago White Sox game, and became the first homegrown Filipino act in the history of Lollapalooza. So the question everyone is suddenly asking is simple. Who are SB19, and why is the entire world talking about them right now? Their story doesn't start with fame. It starts with an experiment. Back in 2016, a Korean entertainment company called SB19 partnered with local talent in the Philippines to try something that had never really been done before, taking the K-pop trainee system, the years of vocal drills, choreography, and discipline, and applying it to Filipino artists instead. 7 hopefuls entered that system. Only 5 would come out the other side as SB19, Pablo, Josh, Stell, Ken, and Justin. Even their name carries a hidden story. It stands for Sound Break 19, but the eerie part is that the number itself was built from the country codes of South Korea and the Philippines added together, a small detail that quietly symbolized exactly what they were trying to become, a bridge between 2 music industries. But here's what most videos about SB19 leave out. Their debut wasn't a triumphant arrival. It was almost the end. When they released their first single, Tilalyaha, in October 2018, the reaction was so quiet, so underwhelming, that the group genuinely considered disbanding. Imagine training for years, giving up your old life, only to release your first song into near silence. That is where SB19 actually began, not with applause, but with doubt. Before that turning point, though, there was a stretch of time that tested every one of them. Years of training under a foreign system, learning choreography and vocal technique built for a completely different industry, then adapting it to fit who they actually were as Filipino artists. Financial pressure was constant. Public skepticism was louder. Many people in the local music scene assumed a K-pop-style boy group simply could not work in the Philippines, that audiences wouldn't accept the format, that it would always feel borrowed rather than authentic. For a while, the numbers seemed to prove the skeptics right. Then came the moment that changed everything. In July 2019, they dropped a follow-up single called Go Up. Nobody expected much. But a fan-recorded video of their dance practice for that song started spreading online, and it did not stop spreading. Viewers were stunned by the precision, the sharpness, the sheer intensity of 5 guys who clearly had something the industry hadn't seen from a Filipino act before. Almost overnight, SB19 went from a group on the verge of quitting to a group the whole country was suddenly watching. Within months, they became the first Filipino act to ever appear on Billboard's Next Big Sound chart and the Billboard Social 50. Billboard's own Jeff Benjamin noted at the time that their fast-growing international fanbase was a sign that more artists would start looking east for inspiration. That single sentence, written years ago, now reads like a prediction of exactly what's happening today. From there, the milestones kept stacking. Their song Bazinga topped Billboard's Hot Trending Songs chart, reportedly outlasting even BTS's Butter for the most weeks at number 1, a genuinely stunning feat for a group still relatively unknown outside their home country. In 2021, SB19 became the first Southeast Asian act ever nominated for Top Social Artist at the Billboard Music Awards, going head-to-head with some of the biggest names in global pop. And instead of staying under a label that controlled their sound, SB19 eventually broke away from SB19 entirely and built their own company, 1Z Entertainment, run by the members themselves. That single decision matters more than it might sound. It meant every song, every video concept, every creative risk from that point forward was entirely theirs. So why is SB19 suddenly everywhere right now, in the summer of 2026? Because the last few weeks have compressed years of ambition into a handful of unforgettable days. On July 28th, they performed live at the Grammy Museum's Global Spin Live in Los Angeles, delivering Gento and Wackus to a sold-out room while discussing the mission behind their music. The very next day, July 29th, Member Josh represented the entire group by throwing the ceremonial first pitch before the Chicago White Sox faced the New York Yankees at Wright Field, their song Gento playing as he took the mound, making SB19 the first Filipino group in history to be given that honor. And then, on July 30th, they walked onto the Allianz stage at Lollapalooza in Chicago's Grant Park, becoming the first homegrown Filipino act ever to perform at the festival, a stage that has previously hosted Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, and New Jeans. During that set, they even premiered a brand new single called Lawless, live, for the first time ever, and brought out the Chicago Bulls mascot during a performance of Dunka. 3 separate American institutions, a Grammy-affiliated museum, Major League Baseball, and one of the world's largest music festivals, all opening their doors to the same 5 Filipino artists within 72 hours. That is not luck. That is years of groundwork finally converging. What makes SB19 different from so many acts chasing global crossover success is that they never abandoned where they came from to get there. Their choreography is famously demanding, their vocals are unfiltered and live, and their lyrics are frequently written in Filipino, not diluted into English for a bigger audience. On that Lollapalooza stage, they didn't just perform hits, they performed a cover of the late Francis Magalona's Mga Kababayan, connecting a new generation of global listeners to a piece of Filipino musical history most of them had never heard before. Their fandom, known as Aten, has grown right alongside them, and by early 2026 the group had reportedly surpassed 1 billion cumulative streams on Spotify, a number that keeps climbing as new listeners in the United States, Japan, and beyond discover them for the first time. That global expansion didn't happen overnight either. Spotify's own emerging artist program, Radar, began spotlighting SB19 years before Lollapalooza was ever a possibility, helping them reach new listeners in markets like the United States, the United Arab Emirates, and Australia long before mainstream American media took notice. Japan became another key market, with the group building a following ahead of their upcoming summer sonic performances in Osaka and Tokyo. Even their own career on film reflects how far the story has traveled. Pagtatag, the documentary, released in 2024, went on to become the highest-grossing Filipino documentary film ever released, proof that people wanted more than just the music, they wanted the full journey behind it. And that's really the bigger story here. SB19 isn't just one group having a good year. They are proof of concept for an entire movement. P-pop, the Filipino answer to K-pop, has existed quietly for years, but SB19 kicked open the first doors, the first Billboard chart entries, the first international festival bookings, the first MLB appearance, the first Grammy museum feature. Every single one of those firsts makes the next Filipino artist's path a little easier. As they head next to Japan's Summer Sonic Festival in August and a fresh run of American fan meets, it's clear this isn't a peak, it's a foundation. If a group that was ready to disband after their very first single is now sharing festival lineups with global pop icons and throwing first pitches at Major League Baseball games, it genuinely raises the question of where SB19 will be 5 years from now. So tell us, what do you think is the single biggest reason behind SB19's global rise? Drop your answer in the comments, and if this story kept you hooked, make sure you're subscribed for the next one.